Question: why is it that black mothers mistreat their daughters just for their daughters to become the only ones they can depend on? Like, let's be clear. I love my mother very much. I am healed. I know that she's not just a mom. She's a human being who had her own mom. And all I can do is break the generational curses. But I'm not going to lie. I just be thinking sometimes like, girl, where are your sons? Where are the ones that could do no wrong in your eyes?
Now listen, first off, she has a really good point. You know, you tend to see this a lot, especially in the black community. I know I've seen it growing up, and you know, there are a lot of mothers who tend to be a bit harder on their daughters than their sons. I have no idea why that is. A lot of mothers in the black community tend to put their daughters out more quickly than they would their sons. I've heard this whole saying that, oh, two women can't live under the same roof, referring to, oh, the mother, you know, there can only be one woman running a household and it can't be two, which kind of attributes to the mother and a daughter bumping heads, and their sons are just fine being there no matter how old they are. When you look at that, I think it's kind of backwards in a sense. You would think that because the sons have to grow up and become men and possibly provide and take care of a family, that he would be the one that you would encourage to, you know, step up and do more to become a man. But I will say this typically happens in single mother households. Let's just be honest. That's where I saw it. Typically when there's a mother and a father in a household, the father, you know what I'm saying, tends to teach the sons certain things and things necessary for them to become men and all of that, while the women focus on the daughters. But when it's just a single mother, you see this kind of happening. But let's continue.
Why are you calling the one that you was kicking out every other goddamn week the one whose phone and shoes and clothes you were destroying? Like, forgiving you for the trauma, yes. Forgotten it, no. Like, I just think it's so crazy that the most mistreated child always becomes the most dependable. And I mean, I know why. It's because we didn't have a choice. We didn't have a safe space, so we created our own. And now you want me to share it with you? Oh, Jesus.
Once again, she has a valid point. Like I said, I've seen this growing up, and it always baffles me. Like, why is it, you know, that the mothers are so hard on the daughters and be quick to put them out, don't care where they go. I mean, they could be on the streets for all they care, and they go on with their lives and not even care, like, if something could happen to their daughter. Or I couldn't imagine doing something like that. I couldn't imagine putting any of my daughters out on the street and not be concerned about their well-being. But back in the day, baby, they did not care. They put you out in a hot second and didn't care if you was getting, you know, abused or hurt or anything, go on with their life and don't know where you at and don't care. But if there was some sons, those sons are laying up comfy, you know, don't have to worry about a thing. So I don't know if it was a jealousy thing, if it was because the mothers were like seeing their daughters grow up and they're seeing a younger version of themselves and they're pissed with themselves because they're getting older. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely a toxic trait. It's definitely toxic. That's a toxic thing to do. And I think a lot of young women grow up resenting their mothers because of that type of behavior, but those same mothers get older and then they act as if they have amnesia, like they don't know what happened. They pray and swear to God that they never mistreated you, that they never did anything to you, that you were the one just rebelling and you were just out here trying to be, you know, do the wrong things. But it is funny how as you get older and you become an adult and you're taking care of yourself, those same mothers end up needing you for help. And, you know, they look at you as someone to help and support them, and they believe that is what you're supposed to do. They believe that, you know, no matter that they brought you here, and even with all the mistreatment and all of that, for some reason, as you get older, you're supposed to turn around and just help them and provide for them. I'm not saying that you wouldn't, but what I'm saying is it's the idea that no matter how horribly they treated you, they still end up needing you for things. You become the person that they look to for help or for things that they need. And a lot of times the sons, they go off and live their lives, do whatever they want to do, and they don't even worry about the mothers in some cases, not all, because they even see that behavior in the mother as well. And either they go on and start their own lives and their own families, and they don't have time to deal with their mothers at that point like that. They focus on what they're supposed to be focused on. But for some reason, the daughters end up single. The mother was a single mother, and the daughters end up becoming single mothers. And that mother looked towards that daughter to help her out. A lot of times they end up living with that very daughter. She ends up taking care of them till the end. So it's just interesting and I'm not sure why that happens, but I know it definitely happens, and it's very toxic. And there's a lot of healing and a lot of mending that a lot of mothers and daughters have to do. And I think it's just that's another part of our community where that needs to be fixed, that where there needs to be some mending, and people have to be accountable, because once again, a lot of our mothers have never been accountable for the things that they chose to do, the poor decisions, the mistreatment of their own children, all kinds of things. They're in denial, and they'll probably at this point never admit to any wrongdoings, never admit to anything that they've done. They just continue to create a different narrative, a narrative in their minds that they believe is true, that they did the best that they could, and they were the best mothers, and they were the best this and best that, while the children have a totally different experience. So, when I talk about being accountable, there's so many different ways that people as human beings need to be accountable. And in order for you to grow as an individual and learn to do better, you have to acknowledge where you've messed up. You have to acknowledge your mistakes. You have to acknowledge just your wrongdoing. And a lot of us have done things in life that we probably need forgiveness for, or you need to forgive somebody. I mean, like I said, we're human. We're not perfect individuals, but there are some people who will go to their grave just thinking that they were perfect, they did no mistakes, and God was leading them. And no matter how many people they've hurt, they still believe that the way they were was just perfect and they did no wrong. And that, and for the people who have suffered and still trying to get themselves to a better place after all of that toxic behavior or toxic treatment, while you're walking around thinking you're perfect and you did nothing wrong, the people who you offended, the people who you mistreated, are trying to gather their lives together. You know what I mean? They're trying to pick up the pieces and try to mend whatever life that they have left, because they were so traumatized and so defeated and so lost, while you're over here saying, hey, God led me, and you put God in it, and God is this, and God, and I didn't do nothing wrong, while people are over here struggling and hurting. That's a major accountability issue that a lot of our mothers from that time, a lot of, like my mother and other mothers from that time, were raised. They come from a different time, and a lot of those women had issues as well. But back then, whatever issues you had, they couldn't express themselves or talk about it like we do now. So everything that was done to them, or experiences, trauma that they've had, they couldn't express it. There was no therapy. They couldn't talk about it. So they internalized it. And then what they did was it came out, and, they placed all that trauma onto their kids. Their kids grew up with the trauma, trying to figure it out, dealing with it in different relationships and creating toxic relationships, trying to figure out. But then they may be able to express it a little bit more, and maybe, talk about it through therapy or just releasing it. That's something that our parents didn't do. And so they're still holding on to that to this day. So there are a lot of mother-daughter complicated relationships. There are a lot of mothers and daughters who are estranged. They don't really have good relationships because of that. And it's unfortunate, because a lot of our parents are just so, misguided, so detached from reality and the truth, till it's ridiculous. And you can't even talk to them. You can't talk to them to try to make them see, to try to work things out and get better relationships with their children, specifically their daughters. And they seem to be okay with it. I mean, I think a lot of the daughters have to struggle and, like she said, and heal from all of that. And the mothers are just like, whatever, because they don't have no guilt or anything, because they've told themselves that they didn't do anything wrong. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Comment, like, subscribe. Let me know if you've had a toxic relationship with your mother, whether you're male or female. What started it? How did it end? Are you at a better place now? And what do you think about all of this and why this occurs? So I want to hear your thoughts on this one. Comment, like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't hit that notification bell. Chime in, you guys. I want to hear your thoughts, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.